Mining Job Hunt video. Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters, and in today's video we are going to collect jobs for the sponsors Mining Jobs to Apply For page. So these are all the jobs from around the country that we load up that you think you should be applying for once you've completed either their DIY or work ready packages. But first I just want to come over and have a look at a comment that got put on this video that I did about the wages aren't that good in mining anymore, and I just want to use it as an example of how people from a certain section of the industry get on and they talk about stuff that they really just don't know much about. And this is this comment here from Jeff. He's a road train driver on 2-in-1 on $58 an hour, and he's just trying to spruik himself, I suppose, a little bit. Yeah, the thing with this is the $58 an hour won't be the full-time job, it'll be a labour hire job. And with the road train operators, it is mining, but it's not. And I'm going to explain it to you by coming over to the map and having a look. Where these guys fit into it all is if you've got a satellite pit that's away from the mill, so the dump trucks can't directly go up and dump on the ROM, you've got to import it in. What they'll do at the satellite pit is they'll go and dump it up on the surface and make a pad for the road train operators to come through. They'll survey it up so they get a good idea of the tons, and then they'll load it up and cut it off to the mill. So what you're doing as a road train operator is you're bringing your road train in, jumping in a loader, loading up your own road train, and then driving it the 50, 100, 150, 200 k's to the closest mill, where you'll dump it on the ROM, and they'll then scoop it up and throw it in the mill and process it. So that's where you fit into it all. It's good money if you're doing road train driving, you've got experience with that. You can make, most places are making between $45 and $50 an hour full time. I've just looked through the job ads. All the full-time job ads are around that $45 an hour mark. The best one I could find was about $50 an hour, and the labour hire job ads go from anywhere from $55 to $65 an hour. And so that's what they do. There's no promotion in it. You're sort of stuck where you're stuck. It's reasonable sort of money, but you know, you're not making bogger rates or charge up rates. And the other thing is that the majority of the work is 2-in-1, which is why it pays so much. If you bring it back to an even time roster, like all the mining jobs are now pretty much around the country, it only works out to be about $110,000 a year. You're getting the extra money because you're doing the 2-in-1 and you're going from there. So I just wanted to explain that, and it's a really good example. I mean, this guy's, you know, he's just trying to say what he knows in the industry, but it's a good example about how people from one limited area of the industry have an idea of how it works, or think they have an idea of how it works when they really don't, and they just, you know, send people up the garden path because, you know, this is all well and good, but it's a short hit thing. You get in as a road train operator. You know, for the majority of my career, the road train operators have been making between $35 and $45 an hour. Now it's going up at the moment because they need a few people around the place, but once that demand eases off and they decide to build, because the problem that you've got, the issue you've got with all this stuff is that eventually if you've got a satellite pit that becomes a big pit, instead of trucking it across, they'll just build a mill and they'll go from there, and then they'll get rid of the road train operators. And that's why you're constantly moving jobs and constantly moving around, because it's a very expensive way of doing things if you're cutting ore in side tippers around the place. So I just wanted to run through that with you, and if you really want to know how to get into the industry, then have a look at this one. It's a video from Dave, who got himself a job as Pacefill. He's starting on, you know, on the same sort of money that the road train operator's getting for 2-in-1, and he's going to be getting that on 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And unlike the road train operator, if he has enough of Pacefill, he can transfer back onto the main crew, and then he can work his way through there and make a lot more money if he wants to. But, you know, it's all horses for courses. But that's what I just wanted to bring up with everybody. I just wanted to show you people often give out poor advice, not, you know, deliberately meaning to do it. It's just because they look at it from their own perspective, and sometimes they've got a very limited knowledge of how the actual mining industry works. So let's get on and have a look at the underground jobs. So let's have a type underground into Seek, and we'll collect some jobs. Service crew, expression of interest, dump truck, goldfields. So we'll have that one. Goldfields have been looking for a lot of people lately. I think they've been having a problem with their training programs, because from the ads that they've been putting up, they've been pretty much scouring the country for experienced people, and that, like we've talked about before, they're not going to get a lot of experienced people, unfortunately, because anybody with 12 months truck driving experience underground doesn't want to still be a truck driver. They want to be on service crew, because service crew pays more money. The obvious exception to that is that there's a few people jumping around that want to be truckies for life, and that's all good, and the mining companies will pay you accordingly and treat you well for all that, but they're few and far between. Majority of people getting into the industry get into the industry because they want to make as much money as possible, and you make the more money the higher up the crew that you go. So this is a truck driving ad for Tasmania, and there's been a lot of activity in Tasmania lately. Ruck have been having to put people on. A lot of the joint ventures and owner-operators have been having to put people on. And again, there's another Goldfields ad for a truck driver. And the Goldfields have got a number of different mine sites, and they're a good example about how most mining companies, your HR works with one mine site, so you get one or two people working on for each mine site, and they don't really talk to each other that much. They place their own job ads and they go from there. So this is an underground truck job in in New South Wales, around Dubbo there. So if you're around that way in Parks area, they're always looking for people. Mine services, pace crew, we'll take that. Like I said, David's one of the ones that got on as pace crew. We've had a fair few people going for pace crew jobs lately, because they need people, and they need people that they can throw in the deep end that know how the mine works. So it's pretty easy to train people up on the actual practical side of things. What's hard is teaching them enough about how the mine works so you can leave them alone to do the job by themselves. That's what all the employers struggle with getting into their new starters, and that's why the sponsors training is so good, because it teaches you all that. So that's the first page done. It's going to be a quick video again, this one, guys. Shift bosses, cable bolt operators, bogger operators. And again, if you're new to the video, or new to the channel, then just remember that all these operating jobs, the bogger operating jobs and all that sort of stuff, they'll pull somebody from another mine site, and that mine site will either have to promote or they'll have to pull somebody from another mine site. But eventually, at some stage, the musical chairs stop and somebody on the end has to hire a new starter to fill the position as everybody goes up. So when you look at all these jobs coming through, just think of it that as everybody gets promoted, there's going to have to be entry-level people to go into the bottom jobs. So that's pace crew, Westfield. Barminco shotcrete operator. This is shift boss for 200k base. Technical services. Okay, so they were looking for entry level last week. This is a service crew type role, so I'm going to put that in there, because if you've done the training that's got a service crew part of the course, it's worth throwing your hat in the ring for that one. Barminco, charge up, jumbo offsider. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, see, Evolution Mining, I don't know who's doing their job ads in the Queensland one, but they put some weird titles up there. They're looking for somebody that can use the jumbo for that one, whereas most mines, when you're asking for a jumbo offsider, you're talking about a nipper that's going to throw bolts for the whole day. Service crew leading hand, bogger, shift bosses. Apologies for not being able to put out a video last week. I've had a problem with my autoimmune issue. It's been flaring up again, so it's limiting what I can do at the moment. But hopefully that will pass in the next week or so, and I can get back to some sort of normalcy. So we're going to put that in there because that's for the surface, but it is for a green mining technician. We'll put that one in there for the people that are wanting a job on the surface. Snowy hydro. Safety and training. Agi Operator. Barminco. Still looking for Agi operators, guys, because the problem that they got with the Agi people is they get the Agi operators in that all know how to use the truck, but they don't know how the mine works. And if you can't be left alone, you don't have a job. So if you can't pick up how the mine works quick enough, then unfortunately you're going to get turned over. So if you do have Agi experience, my suggestion would be to have a look at the sponsor's DIY training package, or even their work ready one, so you can get one of the shift bosses to run you through what needs to be done, and yeah, take it from there. Because that's the way you'll get in and you'll make it, is knowing what's going on, being able to drive around the mine and going to all the different levels and all that sort of stuff, and knowing what's going on, because yeah, that's what you've got to do as the Agi operator. Utility, electrician. I have had a couple of people ask about getting in as apprentices, and what I try and tell people is that they always have limited spots as apprenticeships with all these mining companies, but for the whole time that I've ever been in the industry, what they normally do is they normally go and they poach the people that are straight out of their apprenticeships from other areas of the industry. And what that means is that, you know, they'll go and scoop up a whole heap of first and second years that have just come out of their trades, and they'll basically pay them double to go, and that's the lead smelter, so we don't want that one. I thought that was a operator role in Mount Isa. But yeah, they'll go and scoop up all the the trades that they need, and they'll put them through a accelerated program just to get them up to speed with mining. And here's Barminco's entry-level underground mining campaign again. So this is probably the 11th or 12th time that this has been put up in the last 3 or 4 months. So they need people, and they go through people, and the reason they go through people is because, you know, people just don't know what they're getting themselves into. And when you go in green with rose-colored glasses on, it is, you know, it is what it is. But like I was saying with the apprenticeships, if you want to get into the industry, my advice would be to get your apprenticeship and then go from there, and try and get headhunted. So just go and get an apprenticeship wherever you can, do your time in that, and then start putting the feelers out as soon as you finish your apprenticeship. That's probably the easiest and most direct way you're going to get into the industry. Because if you try and wait around for an apprenticeship with an actual mining company, you know, a lot of those go to friends and family, and there's not too many of those around. So here we're going with the Calibre Engineering. So they do a lot of labour hire around Mount Isa, and they've taken people from us before. And yeah, if you're up that way, you know, you should put your resume in with these guys. Race bore drillers, underground fitter, West Gold. So the entry-level job for Barminco was on page 5, and that's why you need to go through these things all the time. You just can't look at the front page and then go from there. I don't know why, you know, the entry-level roles aren't more at the start, but, you know, for whatever reason, they get thrown around the place. Mine utility worker, Nickel West. And what are we looking for here? Oh, they're actually putting on cleaners as on the nickel site. Okay, that's interesting. We will copy that and paste that in. Normally I wouldn't put that up, but because it's an actual utility job working for BHP, that means the poaching rules don't apply. You could jump from that role straight into one of the mining roles. Whereas if you're on site working for ESS or Compass or one of the other groups, then you wouldn't be able to jump from one site to from one employer to another without having to deal with the poaching rules. When I first started mining, they just used to, when the nipper quit or one of the truck drivers quit and they needed to replace somebody, they just used to grab everybody from the catering, from whoever was washing the dishes in the kitchen or making beds, if they were any good, and they knew a few people around the place, they just used to go and grab them. And that's why the poaching rules came in, because the catering companies just got sick of having to constantly replace their good staff. Because, you wouldn't take the bad ones, you'd only ever take the good ones. So that's why they brought in the poaching rules, to stop all that, which a lot of people don't understand. And again, it gets back to, the bad information that's been thrown around on social media, and why a lot of people don't know what's going on. Mine controller, we will put that one down, because for many, many years they treated that as an entry-level job. What you're doing is you're tracking where all the trucks are going, and the loads and all that sort of stuff, and making sure everybody's recording everything all right and everybody's on track with what they've got to do. So a lot of people get that confused with a shift boss's job. It's not. It's just basically working in an office type situation where you're tracking stuff. But it's interesting to see that the Barminco job in New South Wales has gotten big enough to the stage where they need to put people on to do that. Alright, we'll give it a few more pages. To have a look. Electrician, offsider, diamond drilling, remote exploration. That's surface. Put that up there as well. Mind controller, multi-skill, underground fitter with Aries. That's offsider for oil and gas. Grader operator, Barminco. Grader operators tend to fall into the same category as the Agi guys. If you've got grader experience and you want to try and get an underground job, then have a look at one of the courses from the sponsor. That'll give you all the mining knowledge that you need to get yourself up to speed so you can actually get that job. We'll do one more page and then we'll go and have a look at the prices and where the jobs are around the place. Diamond drillers, electrician, the mine controller job again from Barminco. They're really looking for lots of people around the place. They're trying to get some experienced people in, but I doubt that they will, because a lot of people go through that mine control position into the actual crew jobs. Trainee, drill and blast. So we'll put that on. Mine control Barminco. Alright, so we'll leave that for the moment and we'll go over and have a look at the gold price and the copper price and the nickel price. So gold is still hovering around that $3,000 an ounce mark. Copper is still over $12,000 a tonne, and nickel's up at $32,000 a tonne. And at those prices, all those metals are making lots of money in Australia, so everybody's ramping everything up. Now if we jump over to iron ore, The iron ore price is $1.05, and so we've talked about this before. People think that it's going to settle somewhere between 80 and 120, so around that 100, 105. Hopefully it'll stay on the 105 side to it and just keep going through like that. Which would be really good. And if we jump over to coal, you can see coal again is $120 a ton, and it's making a sideways movement itself. And you can see the sideways movement that it's making here. So hopefully it jumps up a little bit, because at that price, with everybody that knows anything about it, they keep telling me that a lot of the mines around the place become marginal at this price. So hopefully that price improves a little bit. So let's have a look at where the mining jobs are around the country. So this on our map here, it's loaded up for all the mines around the country that are producing gold and the base metals that are going into batteries. So these are where your good long-term careers are going to be, because the gold price is really high, and a lot of places are going back to gold around the world, which is good. And the other thing is that it's all these batteries that are going to save the planet. It's all these base minerals and base metals that are going into these batteries. There's about 10 to 12 different things that go into the batteries. We produce it all here in Australia, so that's why the demand's up for everything, and that's why everybody's going gangbusters. But like I said, there's lots of work here in Tasmania. There's not that much in Victoria, but you've got all the access to all the stuff that's drive in, drive out of New South Wales. Majority of the work in New South Wales is drive in, drive out. There's a bit of live in around the middle here if you want to live in, but the majority of it's drive in, drive out. So people access that from the Gold Coast and the Brisbane area, as well as Sydney and the East Coast. Up in Queensland, you've got all the stuff that's up around Charters Towers and Mount Isa, and we loaded jobs up from around Mount Isa today as well. Over in South Australia, there's Olympic Dam, which is always looking for people. BHP, they've got some open-ended job ads around for their nipper and truck roles and service technician roles, which is basically service crew roles. And over here in WA, you've got all the stuff that's around here in Kalgoorlie and everything that's fly out of Perth. And if you want a job quickly as possible and you're in the eastern states, then my recommendation would be to have a look at doing the sponsors training, the intro to underground mining, or the work ready package, and then heading straight to Kalgoorlie. Because when you can do that, if you can do that, you can give the employer what they want. And everybody that's done the training that's hit Kalgoorlie, they've all had job offers within the first week or two of getting there. And the best thing about going there with your mining knowledge up to speed, it means that you don't have that thing hanging over your head, whether you're going to pass or fail, and you're jumping into the unknown. You know exactly what you're jumping yourself into, and you're prepared for it, and that puts you head and shoulders above everybody else. And that's why the employers interview and hire people that do the sponsors training. So I hope you found that information helpful, and if you could share this video around and like and subscribe to the channel. And again, if you haven't watched this video about Dave getting his job, I recommend that you do. And again, well done to Dave. So if you could share this video around and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.